So Caressa sent me this story, and when I saw the title alone, I said, well, no shit. That was my response. And then I clicked on it and I said, well, what did this guy expect? So this man's name is Sylvain Helene, and he is a teacher, I believe, it says he is a school teacher, and he was teaching at a French school. I'm guessing, I don't know if it was over in France or where it was at, but I'll find out. And as you can see, he has completely tatted his entire body practically from head to toe. And he even, as you can see, he got the pupils of his eyes tatted. Like, I don't know how in the world anyone would go that far to do that. But anyway, he ended up getting fired from his teaching job. Now, I hope he doesn't think he's going to get a discriminatory suit behind this. Because did he really think that after he did this to himself, that they were going to allow him to stay on as a teacher to kindergartners? I wouldn't even want him teaching at a collegiate level. Like, this would freak me out. Imagine if you had a teacher and then they look one way one day and you come in as time goes on and this is what they produce to you over time. Now, we know that there has been a time where they discriminated against people who had tattoos, maybe on their hand or something that was visible, and they wouldn't allow you to do certain jobs, or they say get tats that can be covered up by a sleeve. But none of his tats can be covered. Well, especially his face. He could cover it from his neck down, but his hands will definitely be seen, and his face will definitely be seen, and those eyes would probably most likely scare the children. So I'm trying to figure out, like, what case could he gain from this? That's what I'm trying to figure out. But I'm gonna go ahead and read the article. Usually I wouldn't do a story like this, but I thought it was just interesting that he might think he's going to get a case from this. A school teacher whose body, face, and tongue are covered in tattoos and who has had the whites of his eyes surgically turned black said he was prevented from teaching at a French kindergarten after a parent complained he scared their child. But the teacher, Sylvain Helene, age 35, still teaches children from the age of 6 and up, and said that after an initial shock, when they see him for the first time, his pupils see past his appearance. That's because a lot of kids are usually fascinated by this type of stuff. I mean, they watch cartoons and they watch certain movies. A lot of this stuff does not scare them unless you came up in there looking like Freddy Krueger or Michael Myers or Jason Voorhees. This kind of stuff, believe it or not, be exciting some of these children. All of my students and their parents were always cool with me because they basically knew me, said Helene, who estimated he has spent about 460 hours under the tattooist needles. It's only when people see me from far away when they can assume the worst. He said last year he was teaching kindergarten at the Dr. Moreri elementary school in Palazzo, a suburb in Paris, so this is overseas. When the parents of a 3-year-old child complained to educational authorities, they said their son, who was not taught by Helene, had nightmares after seeing him. And I'm looking and I'm scrolling through the article. It is a picture down here where he is tatted from like his chest down all the way over his legs, but his face is clear. So this was before he did what he did right here to his face and shaved his head and tatted his whole head and had his eyes surgically turned black. A couple of months later, the school authorities informed him he would no longer teach kindergarten children. He said, I think the decision they took was quite sad. A spokesman for the local education authority said an agreement was reached with Helene to move him away from teaching kindergarten. Pupils under 6 could be frightened by his appearance. Despite the setbacks, Helene said he would stick with his chosen career. I'm a primary school teacher. I love my job. He said he started getting tattoos at the age of 27. Mind you, he's now 35. While teaching at a private school in London, he had an existential crisis. Since then, he said, getting tattoos is my passion. He said he hoped to show his pupils that they should accept people who are different from the norm. Maybe when they are adults, they will be less racist and less homophobic and more open-minded. But this has nothing to do with racism and homophobia. This has to do with the fact that you just completely tatted your entire body from head to toe and got your eyes surgically turned black while being an elementary school teacher. It's not, like you have the job of someone who most likely could be a tattoo artist. Like, if you was to see this guy walking down the street, if I was to see this guy walking down the street, I would assume he worked in a tattoo shop, in a parlor. That's what I would assume. If he was to tell me, looking like how he does, that he was an elementary school teacher teaching kindergartners, I would be shocked. I would be extremely shocked. Or maybe not even, if not a tattoo artist, maybe a tattoo model. But this could go on Ripley's Believe It or Not. Y'all remember that show, Ripley's Believe It or Not? If that show was still on, he could have been on that show. I think there was a show where it was a guy, he was completely tatted from head to toe like Kim, and he had all these piercings. It was weird. It was crazy. But to this guy, he can't fault too much of the school system for that response. I mean, what did he expect? He was teaching children. It's not like he was teaching college students that they might be a little bit more accepting of it because they're grown. But you were teaching kids, so you can't really dictate how the child is going to react and how a parent is going to react. You even had one parent said her child had nightmares because of his appearance. And that's all it'll take is one person to say that, and it's a wrap. But y'all let me know what y'all think. I know this isn't like the kind of video that I would usually do, but it actually piqued my interest just a little bit because I wanted to see where they were going with this story.